Alright, this is what we're going to be making today, this video game style intro, sort of like an 8-bit, 16-bit style. So to get started, you're going to need some fonts if you're going to use these. We have Retroville here, which is from defont.com, and then the other one is Agency FB-Bold. You can just do a Google search for that. This particular website is Font Zone. So if you want to grab those two, then we can get started. We're going to come up to composition, new composition, do 1920 by 1080, and 30 frames is 30 frame rate is fine, and then we'll do 10 seconds. We'll go ahead and call this one, let's do Space Hunter. So we're going to put the text, grab the text tool. Let's start with Hunter here first. And select that, and we're going to change this to, where is it at? It's right at the top. Agency FB. Yeah, that's what we want. Agency FB bold. That's fine. We're going to set the size to 190, like that. Make sure it's italic. And then come down here, and we'll hit P for position, and reset the position to 0. So it's in the center of the screen. You can center it also right here under paragraph. So we'll start by, go ahead and switch back. We're going to add layer styles to this. Because we're not using motion blur, we can use layer styles. You can't really mix layer styles and motion blur. For some reason in After Effects it ends up giving you some sort of wonky results, but there's no motion blur in old school video games, so layer style should work fine for us. We're going to go and grab the gradient overlay, and this is sort of the tedious part of this. We're going to come down to edit gradient, click on that. We're going to add a bunch of knots in here. So at 0% we're going to, let's see, so it's right there, 0588 AE. Hit OK. Oops. Add another knot. 7.8%. And we're going to do 76B9CC. Add another knot at 35.2, actually right there, and that is going to be 98E 2F7. Then we're at another knot at 38.2. Let me just type that in, 38.2, and that is going to be 001319, so it's pretty dark. And we're going to add another knot with that same color, just click in there, and that is going to be at 41%, like that. Another knot at 44%, and that's going to be 003357, like that. And then this 100% over here, we're going to change that to 98E2F7, like that. And then, there you go, hit OK, and come down to reverse and just turn it back to on, so it just flips the gradient. So, yeah, I think that's the color that we're going for here. We're going for like a we're trying to get it in the ballpark, and then we can push the colors a little bit more with curves. So we're going to duplicate. Let's duplicate this Hunter 2. We're going to add a stroke to this bottom layer of 5, like that, and then go ahead and roll down layer styles again to gradient overlay, and just click the reverse back to off, so it sort of flips it, so we have these sort of lines around it. And then we have to do the space, so we'll duplicate Hunter again here. We're going to grab it and move it up. We'll do space, and let's see. This one is at 190. The font size is at 190. Oh wait, Hunter is at. Actually, Hunter should be at 240. Like that. Make sure to change it for the other layer as well. There we go. And then space is 190. Yeah. We're going to move that up. Duplicate that one as well. And then we'll just come down here to layer styles and click the reverse to off. And then make sure that this also has a stroke of 5. There we go. So we have it on both. Come back down here, whoops, make sure to grab both layers. Go ahead and bring it down, maybe like that. Maybe nudge it over just a hair. Then we'll add a new adjustment layer. And we'll add curves here. We're just going to give it just a bump of contrast a little bit. Like this. Bring this down. There we go. Maybe something like that. You can sort of see the difference there. This makes it pop a little bit more. Alright. So that's Space Hunter. We're going to create, we're going to move on to the Start button. New composition. Same thing. We'll call this Start button. And here we go. Just add some text. Press Start. And we're going to change this to Retroville. There we go, Retroville. Oops. We want to, let's see, font size is 42. Like that. Get rid of the stroke here, so we're not going to need it for this. Hit P, we'll hit reset this to the center, and then we'll drag it down. About like this. So we're going to add layer styles to this to 2. It's a different color, so I'm going to do layer styles. Gradient overlay, same thing as before. Come up to edit a gradient, and we'll do for this is for this at 0%. We'll do FFF 7D0. Add another knot at 14%, like there, and that's going to be 876F00, another one at 26%, like there, and that one is going to be 534400, and another one at 33.8%, and that one's going to be 312A01, like that. And then just click and drag another knot to 45. That's going to be the same color, 312A01. And then 53.8, we're going to do 534400. And then the last one at 100%. Is going to be the same as the very first one, FFF7D0. Let's see what that looks like. Click OK. I think we got to reverse this one too. Yeah, we do. There we go. That's all we're doing for this. For this press start. Zoom in here. We're also going to add those little triangles that you saw in the preview. So just come up here, make sure you don't have any layers selected, click the star tool, double click, so we just add a star to the middle of this, come down to the roll open the shape layer, and change the points to 3. So we have a triangle. Then we do a scale on this, change it to 3%, so it brings it down pretty small. Grab the shape layer, oops, grab it. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees, like that. Maybe right about there is good. And we'll go ahead and grab this layer style. The layer styles here. Just go ahead and copy it, Control C, and then just paste it onto the shape layer. And there we go. Has the same sort of Actually, we can make an adjustment here. Edit gradient, and click on this knot, and click here to add an. Whoops, that's not what we want. Click another knot. We're just going to drag this back a little bit. There we go, something like that. And then let's see. We'll call this try right 1. Duplicate it. Control D. Move it over like this. Then we're going to take both those and duplicate them again. We'll call this try left 1, try left 2. I'm going to grab both of those, shift them over to the other side, and then we're just going to bring up the rotation and change it to -90, so they're sort of pointing the other way. Like that. And maybe move them out just a little bit more, like that. There we go. There's our press start button. Anything else? Yeah, let's do an adjustment layer. We're going to go ahead and add a curves. I'm just going to push it up a little bit. Yeah, we can go pretty bright. There we go. Something like that. That looks pretty good. And then what else do we have? We have next is the license by text at the very bottom that you would see on pretty much all NES and Sega Genesis games, stuff like that, back in the day. Licensed by, new composition. There we go. Come here. We'll do licensed. Actually, can't spell. Die. This is also Retrovillain 42. Come to P, we'll go ahead and reset it. Bring it down again, maybe like right about here. So we add another gradient, another layer styles to this as well. Gradient overlay. Edit the gradient. This one's a little bit easier for this first one. This will be, first knot, be F1B A72. And create another knot at 6.8%. You can change that like there. And this one is going to be BB6F0D. We got another one at 30%. Let's come in and change that. We'll do 462A05. We got another one at 42.3. 42.3. And that is going to be, it's the same thing, 42A05, 462A05. Another one at 67%, and that will be BB6F0D. And then the last one at 100% will be F1BA72. And click OK, and we're going to go ahead and reverse this as well, like that. Go ahead and duplicate this layer and bring it down. Finish off the text. We'll do ink. There we go. And then this is a little too saturated for my liking, so we're going to add an adjustment layer on top. And we're going to add a curves. We're going to bump it all up again. And then also we're going to add a hue and saturation and bring that back down to about -45. You can play with that number a little bit to see what works right. The idea with the layer styles is you want to just sort of get the colors in the ballpark and then see if you can sort of push them around with curves to like, you know, bumping the contrast and trying to get them to pop more. And that's how I do it, at least, because trying to get the colors to be exact if you're eyeballing something is a bit more difficult. Anyway, after that we're going to create our star field, which is in the background. This one's super easy. call this starfield. We're going to add a new, let's do a new solid. Let's Control Y on your keyboard, otherwise you can do layer new solid like this. We're going to go ahead and let's try white here. We're going to use an effect called CC Starburst. There you go, there's your starburst. And we're going to change a few things. Scatter is going to be 659. Speed is 0.1. Grid spacing is 2. And then the size is 100. And that's how that looks. There we go. Then we're going to create our main comp. New composition. We'll call this render. This is where everything is going to be put together. So we're going to come up here. We're going to drag in Space Hunter or Starfield, the start button, and the license by. Make sure the Starfield is at the very bottom. So already a good chunk of the way there. And let's go to start button real quick here. We're going to move all of this up. Actually, no, why don't we just do it in here? Start button. Go ahead, move it up someplace in the center there. And for Space Hunter, we're going to bump the scale up to, let's try 121. There we go. We'll move it down a little bit. The start button, move this down somewhere in the center. Alright. So we're going to add a black background behind all of this. Put that at the very bottom. Write another new solid, Control Y, or you can do layer new solid. Move it into maybe something like this. Maybe like that, so it's pretty saturated. We're going to go ahead and why don't we just do this by hand with a mask. Create a dot, I'm going to run around here, a point right here in the center, drag out those handles. You can hold down Shift so that they're, you know, they come out horizontally. Then click over here like this, so we just have this bottom part. We're going to try doing, I don't know, 150 on the feather. If you hit F, that's what brings up the feather for the mask. And then we're going to bring this down real low, I don't know, like 15% or something, maybe 20%. Before we start to animate everything, I'll go through to actually get those certain type of 8-bit effects. We're going to add a bunch of adjustment layers. So the first one, let's see what we got. Let's do posterize time. And this basically changes the frame rate. It's the effect that changes the frame rate of all the animation in the comp. So we're going to bring that down to 12, which is right on the edge of what what your eye can see as motion. We'll rename this to posterize time. Do another adjustment layer. And this one, we're going to go ahead and grab the mosaic effect. And we're also going to do just posterize right here. And both of those, the mosaic, we're going to set to, hold on here, posterize is set to 8, and then mosaic is set to 512 by 288. So you could set both to actually 512 if you want, but I'm trying to keep 288 over 512 is the same aspect ratio as this comp, which is 19 by 20. So this is 16 by 9. Although if you change it to 512, I don't think anyone's going to notice that, you know, the pixelation isn't exactly square. But just so you know, we'll do 288 there. So you can see the difference that makes. Let's see what else. So let's go ahead and animate this Space Hunter. Grab the position, right click, do separate dimensions. We're going to bring it down to, I don't know, let's see, about 115, I think. Key that Y position where it is, go back to 0, and just move it up and off screen. Just off screen like that. We're not adding any eases here. There's no, it's the 80s. It's not a whole lot of easing. Stuff just moves into place and stops. It doesn't slow down or anything like that. There we go. Starfield. We're going to animate T, bring this down to 0, animate this in 2, 3 at about over a second, up to 100. And we're going to do the same with this, the blue at the bottom. So bring up the opacity, bring it down to 0, up to about a second, and that'll be, it was at 20, so we'll leave it there. There we go. We're going to set the start button and license by. Move your CTI to the 3-second mark, and then if you hit the left square bracket on your keyboard, it'll move the layers to where the CTI is. Good, let's go ahead and animate this press start blinking. So let's go back to the start button. Let's press start here. What we're going to do is open up the opacity, add a key for 100%, right click, go to keyframe interpolation, and change it to hold. So in other words, that means no interpolation happens. It's just when we land on that key, then that's the property it'll automatically take. So it won't interpolate between 100% and 0. It'll just either be 100% or 0. So we're going to do 20 frames forward, bring this down to 0. We want to blink on and off. I could do this with an expression, but it's probably just easier for this example to add a bunch of keys so that we can copy and paste them. If you hit page down, you'll move 1 frame forward, copy that first key, copy it and paste it, so it resets. Oh, actually, you know what? That's not what I want to do for this. Let's do, there we go. And then we're just going to offset them by 20 frames, another 20. If you hold down Shift and page down, it skips ahead 10 frames at a time. So paste, paste. Let's see if I'm doing this right. Yeah, that's right. There you go. So it just blinks like you'd see on a video game menu screen. So there's that. What else are we missing here? This is mosaic. Posterize, just renaming some layers here. I'm also going to add a glow on top of this, add another adjustment layer. Glow. Crank this threshold up all the way to 90. There we go. That actually gets it even more, pop more. Like that. That pretty much adds a glow to everything. Move this down a little bit. It almost looks like there's like an atmosphere, like we're right above the Earth or something. There's not a whole lot to these screens from these menu screens from the early video games. Something like that. This is a little off. Let's move this up more. And then, what else do we want to do? We also want to add the highlight that goes over the logo, the Space Hunter logo. So we're going to duplicate it, create a mask, grab the rectangle tool, go ahead and drag one out, make it bigger than the text, maybe about like that. Then we're going to go ahead and double click it, turn it on its, rotate it 45 degrees. If you hold down Shift, it'll rotate in 45-degree increments. We're going to set it right about here. We want it to start maybe around 4 seconds. So key the mask path. We're going to go forward a second. double click the mask and just drag it all the way across. Actually, you know what? Let's go back here. Let's move it down just a little bit so we get everything. There we go. Go forward a second. Double click, drag across. So completely over here. So we have this. You're not going to see much right now. So we're going to add another glow on top of it. And we're going to bring, let's move it over the text, bring it down to, I don't know, 40. We want to really pop, maybe 30. There we go. Let's try that. You can go ahead and solo it if it's going to be easier. There we go. Solo both. Yeah. If you want it to, if you want it to do that multiple times, we have to reset it over here without interpolating. So just move one frame forward, page down, and then grab that first keyframe, copy and paste it so it sets it back. Now if you want to have that happen multiple times, just grab these, copy, and move down to 7 seconds and paste it again so it happens here. There you go. Yeah, that looks good. Glow. Is there anything else? So there we have our animation there. Looks pretty good. What we're going to do here, posterize time up here, and then we're going to grab the start button, the license by, and move it above mosaic and posterize. There we go. That's a little bit better. The mosaic and posterize were eaten a little bit too much. Actually, we should probably break these out into different adjustment layers. So let's call this posterize, delete it from here, move this above the start button, and then this will just be mosaic. The text is already like aliased and stuff, so we don't need to alias it some more. So we're going to get rid of posterize here, but we do want it to reduce the amount of colors on the text. So yeah, so there's our animation. Another thing I did is I added another adjustment layer up here. Just because it's an old video game, and we're going to add just a hint of some grain. Change the intensity to 0.5 and the size to 0.5, and then just switch this to final output. And this adds a little bit of grain to it. So I'm not sure how noticeable it is, but so yeah, I think that's about it for this. You can change the colors for this if you want. If you're going to do that, I would suggest get a reference. So if you want to change colors to gold or something, you might want to find an image online that you sort of like want to use the colors from. So you can do something like this, or something like the overdrive when you're adjusting the layer styles. And then also if it doesn't seem to be working for you, you can also save this image to your hard drive, bring it into After Effects, and then use a color picker to grab specific colors that you're to use in layer style, so you can sort of recreate the same look. Anyway, I think that's about it. If you guys have any comments or suggestions, leave them down below, and thanks.